Hey y'all, thanks for tuning into another video. This is how to talk to your inner critic without fighting it. So our inner critic, the one that is criticizing us, the one that is criticizing everyone else, the one that is finding fault, wrongdoing, shame and blame, etc. in other people, is a part of us that was developed by us to protect us. So it's one of those internal parts of ourselves, not the real pieces of us. We've talked about this before. The actual self rests in this state of ease. And there's all these things that have been layered onto us that cause us to do certain things, whether it's someone else's narrative, whether it's a story that we tell ourselves, whether it's a protector part that's developed some sort of scenario that isn't exactly true. All of those pieces are meant to protect us by ourselves. But what happens when we build a wall up to something and we actually want to be able to be vulnerable? We want to be able to let people in. We want to be able to exist in a state of homeostasis, is that we realize that that barrier, that hurdle, that wall is not serving us the way that we hoped that it would. Our inner critic is no different than these other parts. So that inner critic is developed because we are scared. It is a scared protector. It is saying, I don't want to be found at fault and judged for something. So it's not an enemy, but it's a place for us to get curious with ourselves. It's a place for us to say, why am I criticizing myself in this instance? Or why am I over criticizing other people in this instance? Have I told myself a story by criticizing this scenario in order to keep myself safe? We can start to notice this part of us when we walk into a room and we see ourselves doing this internal narrative of, this person is too loud, this person is a goody two-shoes, this person doesn't talk enough, this person is, a bad listener and they always cut off people's conversation. That's our internal critic. And it came from somewhere. So if you have this protector part, you might notice that in your childhood, in order to keep yourself safe, you started this narrative in your own brain because it was a narrative that was taught to you by the people who were supposed to keep you safe. And so in an effort to not get in trouble or experience their rejection or experience their own critique of you, you would start to critique yourself to avoid any external critique, because being accepted, belonging, and feeling as if you were perfect is what kept you safe emotionally and also from feeling the wrath of that person. So in turn, you have to be in your own brain the best person in the room. So you start to critique other people in order to elevate yourself. And then also you're critiquing yourself in order to elevate yourself. So if you're too loud, and that's the critique you've given yourself, then you'll start to silence yourself. If you're, too boisterous and too excitable, then you'll start to calm yourself down and shrink yourself. None of these things are true, not of the other people and not of you, because who's determining the litmus test that says somebody is too much of anything? But it is a way that you've developed a strategy to keep yourself safe so that people will be accepting of you and so that they won't reject you. So ways that you can talk to this inner critic to make it so that it's not the enemy and so that you are approaching it with curiosity is, one, notice its voice. So when you start to hear that thing happening, you can stop your thoughts, which is really something that we have such a struggle with understanding. You don't have to go down that rabbit hole. You don't have to do the overthinking. You don't have to make meaning out of other people's critique of you. You don't have to criticize them. You can quite effectively say, nope, That is the voice that is the critic voice, and that voice is trying to keep me safe from something. I am not going to listen to that voice right now. And you'll notice what it sounds like if you're a person who uses this method to protect yourself, because it will be that nattering voice that always finds something wrong. So noticing that voice is key in making it less of the enemy and approaching it with more curiosity. The second is ask it, what are you afraid of if you stop criticizing in this moment? If you stop criticizing yourself in this moment, will you actually be viewed as less than by the people around you? If you stop criticizing yourself in this moment, could you actually be brave enough to show up as the true version of yourself without having to fight against all of those narratives that you're making meaning of? Maybe those people aren't thinking what you think they're thinking. Maybe those people aren't approaching you with the intention that you think they're approaching you with. And so are you trying to protect yourself from being viewed a certain way, being taken advantage of by people because that's what you've experienced? Whatever it is that you're protecting yourself from, you got to ask yourself what that is. So this inner critic came out right now and it's here. So I need to know what it's keeping me safe from. What is it trying to avoid? And then thank it for protecting you. Thank you for trying to protect me, but I don't need that right now. Thank you for showing up in this moment to think I needed protecting, but also I assure you that I'm safe. I can show up as my full self in this environment. I'm okay if people start to judge me because of it, because I know that that's just their protector part showing up too. So a place where this has happened with me before, and there are many of them, but a place where this has happened to me before is with my children. So there's this her outfit looks raggedy, or he has toothpaste on his face, or his hair looks like he didn't touch it with a comb, or, he's going out into the world and maybe he's not doing exactly what I thought he was going to be doing at this point in life. And then I take all of those things and I say, okay, that means, so this is me making meaning, that means that you're not doing your best as a mom. And because you're not doing your best as a mom, then these kids are showing up this way into the world. Instead of just saying, that's what she wants to wear, who cares? He can go wash his face if there's toothpaste on it and run a comb through his hair. And the way he's showing up is him working through life to get to his purpose, right? And so that doesn't mean that you're a bad mom. In fact, it means that you're a great one because you're showing up to help them and guide them through this process. But you tell yourself that you're horrible at this thing because you want to elevate yourself to be better than the people around you. You don't have to do that to be good, You don't have to make yourself feel worthless in order to add value to yourself. You can just say, hey, I'm showing up as the best that I can right now, and this is an area that I would like to grow. You don't have to say, you're the worst at this thing, and you're never going to be good at it, and this is why you're never going to be good at it. Those are old narratives, old voices showing up in your head as your inner critic. Another place that it has shown up for me is when I walk into a room and I start to critique what other people are doing because I feel insecure in the space. So I don't want to show up as my full self because I'm afraid to be vulnerable. So I start critiquing other people so that I feel elevated in that space. And you catch yourself doing it and you just say, wait, these people all have gifts and I have some too. And we're going to show up with our giftings in this space and it's going to be a great collaboration because of it. So you catch it, you assure yourself that it's okay to show up as you, and you speak kindly to yourself and the people around you. So this week, I'm just asking you to write one compassionate response to your inner critic this week. When you hear it showing up, take out your journal and say, my inner critic showed up with this critique this week, and I'm going to be compassionate to myself, and I'm going to say this one thing to myself over and over again until I actually start to believe that it is true. Promise you that sounds very simple, but when you start to replace the old narrative with the new narrative, the assured you, the you who is rooted in what Christ says about you, then you're going to show up differently, and eventually that's going to be your default. So I thank you guys for tuning in, and remember, knowledge gained and kept to yourself is selfish, but knowledge shared with the world could just be the catalyst for change that someone needs to break free from the bondage that they're experiencing. So if this video resonated with you, or if it didn't, please share it on your socials, share it with your friends, like and subscribe to my page, go follow me on the socials so that we can all break free from the bondage that we're experiencing. Thank you again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.